Good evening and welcome to Playwrite Conversations. I have with me the very famous left arm spinner, Mr. Dilip Doshi, former Test cricketer. Welcome, Mr. Doshi.
Thank you very much, Vivek. Lovely to be on your program.
Thank you very much, sir. And it's a pleasure to interact with you. Growing up, I used to keep the scores in my own little notebook. I used to watch you playing. By the time you came, also television was not much in India, but I think I saw you somewhere in some, I don't remember which match. I used to admire your bowling action and your poise. So, sir, tell us about your early cricket days and how you got into cricket and how you became a left arm spinner. First, tell us that.
Vivek, I was always a left-hand spinner, so I never turned into one. It's a real true because I've spoken to many people because many people changed into something or were advised to do. Ever since I can remember myself as a child, all I was interested in was doing spinning, spinning, spinning. So I would say it was natural to me. And I played from a very early age, ever since I can remember myself. And my father and my chacha, my father's younger brother, they encouraged me enormously. And both of them had played cricket at a certain college level in Gujarat and all that. So they understood the game in that way. In fact, my father had played school cricket with the great Vinu Vankar because
Oh.
we came from Rajkot and Vinu Bhai used to play for Jamnagar. So my dad also knew the great Vinu Vankar. So cricket was a very huge passion in my family already. So, although I didn't come from a cricketing family as such, but the love for cricket was in abundance.
Wonderful. So you learned the art of bowling and you grew up and you also played junior cricket, obviously, before coming. You played a lot of cricket in Bengal. So being more of a football dominant city, still cricket has flourished there a lot. So tell us about your early days, both in Gujarat and Bengal, and how you got into the circuit of cricket before coming onto the county or national team, those early years when you were a teenager?
Yeah. Okay. So, just to put the record straight, I was born in Rajkot, but which is our hometown for both my parents. But I always grew up in Calcutta. My father was, after being a professor of economics in Elphinstone College in Mumbai, he shifted to Calcutta in late 40s to develop a business. So I grew up in Calcutta. So really, I'm a Calcuttan by growing up, and I'm very proud that I grew up there. So Calcutta and Bengal people are very emotional. They love the sport. They love any art form. So they are sports crazy. And of course, football was more dominant in Bengal because a lot of great Indian footballers then came from Bengal, including one of my captains later on, Chuni Goswami.
Tony
Uh,
Goswami.
yeah. So cricket was also very popular in Bengal. And every time there was a test match or any game of any importance, you could see Eden Garden would be filled. So it was different days. And so I didn't play any formal cricket at all. When I was in school, I played cricket, what you call Maidan cricket, and Calcutta was very good in that. What you see in Mumbai, Azad Maidan, Cross Maidan, Shivaji Park, all these areas. So we had in Calcutta Victoria Memorial Ground, which is a huge area. And we used to have our own team and play with the other teams. And proudly, we used to beat everybody. So I grew in my confidence, and you started learning the tricks of the trade and not rely too much on fielders that time because fielding practice and all these things were unheard of at that level.
Right, right.
And then I finally, actually, when I came to the college level education, I was in St. Xavier's College. And in St. Xavier's College, there always a heritage of a good cricket team. So that is where I got my formal cricket entry at.
Absolutely. And then the breakthrough came when you started playing county cricket as well as playing for your state. So that was a very difficult job, as I could see. Very few people would play all round the year. I was talking to Glenn Turner another day. He was a rare one. He used to play all year round. You started playing for the state as well as playing for county. And I also read somewhere that when you reached England for county cricket, you were already match fit, yet they used to make you go through the fitness drills. So tell us a little bit about your county experience and your early years for Bengal.
Okay. So to put the record straight in a way, because you asked me wonderful, and you had a wonderful analysis of my career earlier. So I first played my true national representation cricket for Calcutta University, and we won the Rohinton Barrier Trophy that time. So that made me also feel confident that I could win tournaments at national level. So, you go from one step to the other and you pitch yourself against the best in the country at your level and you learn that. Later on, I had to wait a little bit. I had always had to wait in my career for whatever reasons. I always had some obstacles before I had to overcome and get in. Then I played for Bengal, and in 1972, I had an opportunity to go to England. Nobody had invited me, but a gentleman called Keith Goodwin, who was then Lancashire wicketkeeper and understudy to Farooq, engineer. He was in Calcutta. He saw me play, and he said, "You got to play county cricket. You got to come to England." And my parents agreed, and I went to England in 1972. Then I was lucky to get a breakthrough when the great Sir Garfield Sobers was advised by Jack Bond to go and see me play, and the rest became history. He got me into his own team, and so I got onto the world stage at that time. But I had already played first class cricket for 3 seasons then in India. Had also played against a touring team, New Zealand, and then in '69, and then Australia, Bill Laurie's team for East Zone. So I already had a little bit of exposure to world class cricketers.
And then, you developed so quickly and you were able to contain the best batsman in the county circuit as well as on the national circuit in India. And I know that you were taking wickets because perhaps, as I read and I saw also whatever I knew as a growing cricketer myself in those days, you used to make the batsman absolutely peg him down. And whenever he would try to score, he would end up losing his wicket. So tell us about your knack of getting those wickets by tying down the batsman and not letting him score.
Okay. I think this very good analogy and analysis you've given me. I feel that runs are like a supply of oxygen to the batsman. And if you supply that in abundance, he grows in confidence and it becomes more and more difficult for you to get him out. And to keep a top class batsman quiet, you need to be very accurate and imaginative in your bowling and field placing. So this I learned in early days in Calcutta, where my college cricket and club cricket, I played for a very good club in Calcutta as well. So I think a lot of people understood the game in Calcutta very well. Even though Calcutta or Bengal did not boast of many test players at that stage, I thought the level of understanding of the game was very high. So I learned very well that if you start giving runs like a millionaire spending a lot of money, you immediately will get taken off because the batsman grows in confidence. So that was one way of looking at life. When I went to England, also, I realized that good players always try to get on top of you. They want to dictate terms. And therefore, you learn as a good bowler or a bowler in making that you need to do the same thing. If you are not able to imagine and put your field placing accordingly, then you are also going to be a prey in their hands. So it was a good tussle and a good process.
Yeah, and then you started playing the Don Players League, which was probably the first limited overs tournament played at a serious level, even before one-day internationals, and I believe it was played at 40 overs level. And perhaps the World Cup was played at 60 overs level in those days, even one-day internationals. So, but spinners were not considered to be that much of a value addition to limited overs cricket. And you even took once, I think, as I read, you bowled 8 overs for 1 run with 7 maidens, and the county did not play you in the next match. So why was it so? And what has changed now? Just to add that.
So just to add to that, the first known limited overs tournament in the world was Gillette Cup.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a 60 over tournament. And then later on, they played a Sunday league, what they call John Player League. So I played in all those tournaments. So the reason why many spinners were not being bowled in those days, although English counties always had a good left-arm spinner and a good off spinner, because in those days the county cricket was played on uncovered wickets.
Yes.
It demanded a lot of expertise in your technique, the ability to negotiate the bowling, and also the survival was very important to stay on in the game, because don't forget, many of them played as professionals, and if you had no results to show, you will find that you will be replaced very soon. So actually
Yep.
it was a very intriguing era of cricket, I would say, and all the world's best cricketers did come to county cricket to play. So let's say that some of the counties did play spinners, but many of them opted to bowl quicker. That means they would not bowl like in a normal game, as they would say that bowling darts, they would bowl
Yeah,
much
yeah, yeah.
quicker, which would have no arc and therefore
Mm.
no spin. And I just thought that if I'm playing as a spinner, and if I don't bowl my normal bowling, which is
Find it.
why I'm picked in the team, then I would not be able to give my best. Or of course, but then there is a thing that you have got to have your proper field placing, and you got to have confidence in your own ability to try what you want to do. And I was lucky that I was able to play like that. I want to add something here. Although limited overs cricket came as branded in those days, but at every level, whether it was in Mumbai, in Calcutta, or in the English professional leagues like Lancashire League, the games were of limited duration and number of overs. So that was nothing new. It came on the first class level and the world stage late in 60s. But the game did exist limited. So people knew how to up their scoring rate, how to go for the shots, and how to conserve the wickets to have a blast later on. So this I've seen all the way through, even in club cricket in Calcutta.
So
I hope
your
that
county
answers your
career.
question.
Yeah, yeah. Just to conclude the county part, so Notts and Warwicks, as I know, Nottinghamshire and Warwickshire, you played for, and I believe you also took 100 wickets in a season for Warwickshire. So your success in English conditions, they were uncovered pitches and then covered pitches. So how was it that you were so successful, whereas spinners typically are more successful in subcontinental wickets and not so much in England?
I think it's a very kind tribute you are giving me, but I
No,
must
no,
say
you
that
must.
I must say that I had an aim to prove a point, and I think what happens is when you go all the way from India to play there, your aim is to improve your game all the time. And a bowler's job is to win games for him and take wickets for the team, etc. So I adjusted to the conditions and the demands very well, and I was lucky to do that. And when I played county cricket in 1977, the wickets were still uncovered. But from 1978, the rule changed and the wickets became covered, which posed a different challenge because the typical English wickets, which after the rain, the drying pitch, or the very slow, sluggish pitch, which is full of rain, I can tell you that we have played on pitches when the ball pitched and water came out from the pitch,
Oh
and the
God.
closing fielder would get a little splash. Trust me, that is the kind. And you learn to play on all things. You cannot complain of a wet ball. You cannot complain of anything. You just get on with the game. So that was an interesting stage of learning.
You did very well, and then waited and waited to play for India. And of course, Bishan Bedi meant that Padmakar Shivalkar and you and Rajendra Goyal waited and waited, but you made the breakthrough and finally got into the Indian team at the age of about 32, I believe, and took
Yeah.
114 wickets for India. So just walk us through that initial part of your Indian Test career.
I would say that I was lucky to be picked because, at that time, as you mentioned, the great Shivalkar was there, and Rajendra Goyal was also a great bowler. He could have played earlier. But I think the selectors in India and the system of cricket in India was quite pathetic, in my view, because we were never looking at the team's victory. We had people who became larger than the game, and I always felt that that was very sad. That's why some good budding fast bowlers couldn't play. And when India needed fast bowlers to win the game, we didn't have any because we couldn't play them. We didn't play them. So
Fair
it
enough.
was not it was not necessary to play everybody all the time. And there could have been changes also, which never took place. But at the same time, I felt very lucky to have been picked in 79, and whatever I got, I tried to make the most of it. And we won all the home series. We had a squared series in Australia, which was quite historic. And so, in a short career, but I thought as long as the team can win and you prove a point, you are lucky. And I'm grateful that I got the opportunity.
Oh, wonderful. We were very impressed and pleased, and the team started doing well. Somehow you did not stay on till 1983 when the World Cup came. I think you played till 1982, if I recall. And of course, the system in India, we all know it was a little regional, and two people from here and three people from here, and lots of quota, etc. Mahinda Ramanath called the selectors a bunch of jokers. So I mean, we all know cricketers. I also played a bit of cricket. We all know about that. But
I know.
what was it like being in the Indian team of that era? And how was the level of competition at the international level? Was the Indian team holding its own? And were you confident even while going abroad? You did very well in Australia. Tell us your journey as an international player.
Okay, so let's look at this. I did play a test in '83 after the World Cup.
Oh, I
So
see.
I
Okay.
was I was very much in the reckoning after the ill-fated tour of Pakistan 82-83 because we lost there very easily
Yeah.
for various reasons. They outplayed us. They were a better team, but the margin of defeat doesn't really prove a lot of things. That's for another day. We will not go into that details. Um, I still played a test match in September '83 against Zahir Abbas's team when I was recalled back. And I was really hoping, had I gone on the West Indies tour of '83, I'm sure that I would have made the World Cup because I had very good credentials of bowling well in ODIs for India and winning them games. You can look at the record. I did win a few games for India when India had no
You had a
chance to win.
fifer also. Yeah, I
Yeah, yeah.
know.
But so the point is, we had different mindset, and you mentioned about the quota system. I would say that there was power broking and the associations which had much stronger lobbying ability could bring their players in, whether deserved or undeserved, it didn't matter. So our cricket in those days was played slightly differently than today. I'm happy that today the transparency is so good that is good for our team.
Yeah.
Again, when you say that in the World Cup era in '83, Kapil really led from the front, and his ability to change the course of the match is history today. And we were already matured as a nation. We were maturing. So I think cricket is a very big socio-economic game. If you look at post-independence when we grew up, I'm told that many of the cricketers before us, when they reached England or other countries, they were overawed by being somewhere else. Many of them couldn't speak English at that time. They developed a complex, I'm told, which is sad because they were very good cricketers in their own right. And they could not give their best. Some of the old cricketers have told me themselves that they were overawed by the occasion of being in a foreign country and not being able to converse with them with any confidence. And all these things changed as India grew in confidence as a country, as the education got more common, and as our players who got more and more exposed to international sports, everything grew in confidence. There was never a lack of talent in India. Even in some of the great teams earlier, the talent was there, but we couldn't put it all together as a team. So in our times, I think we were confident as youngsters and as individuals, and on the world stage, we could put it all together. And so that was the evolution taking place in our own society.
I think you're absolutely making a very important point there. I also believe in this as a writer. And you're a great thinker, I can see, because Indian society lacked confidence, especially when meeting foreigners and traveling abroad. A lot of things changed after the 83 World Cup win, but actually started changing after 2000 when India became an IT superpower and many things. So today's cricketers, they don't think themselves less than anybody in the planet, Indian cricketers, and they are in fact, India's cricket is probably the powerhouse of the world. But we'll get there in a
I,
while. Sorry, good. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, I've got to tell you an anecdote.
Sure.
In 1982, when we toured England, and we had a very decent seam bowler in us, in our team called Randhir Singh.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
came
yeah.
from Bihar. He came from Bihar. He was a damn good bowler, and I feel that India were unfortunate that they could not play him in England when he could have really been a handful. So we were playing a game, and at lunch table, he was sitting next to me. Is a side game against Kent at Canterbury, and across the table, some of these players were complimenting Ranveer Singh for his ability to swing the ball. He had a few catches dropped of him, but those people could see. So they were making a conversation to with Randir, and Randir was very shy, and he did not have. So he told me, I was his captain for his zone. So he was telling me, Dilip bhai, ye kya bol rahe hain, mujhe nahi samajh mein aata hai. So, and then they also said maybe he cannot speak English. That's what they said, and he heard it. So he felt. I said I laughed at it, and I said why? I said why don't you tell them that your English is still better than their Hindi? So he burst into laughter. It broke that little bit of sense of feeling deprivation. And then I explained to him that if you speak slowly, Randir will be able to answer you. And then Randir did. So it was a little bit of side thing. So that spoke volume of the situation then,
Wonderful anecdote. In fact, that is how someone like you, maybe at that time a senior cricketer and also well exposed to the international norms, could help a youngster. And I know many youngsters who could not speak English even in the modern era, you know it. And they started becoming so confident. Virender Sehwag, Harbhajan Singh. I mean, they became so confident now they speak so well and do commentary. But coming to your opponents, people like Javed Miandad, Zahir Abbas, Viv Richards, Greg Chappell, you bowled to all of them at the international level. So tell us about who was the best and who played you the best.
It's always a moot point about talking about the best players and not. I must say that in my time, the best players I saw, whether we played international against them, I didn't play against West Indies. So I played
Right.
against Viv Richards quite a lot in county cricket. I never played against the West Indies because when I thought I had a great chance, I couldn't go. I didn't go. But I bowled to Viv and a lot of other people in county cricket, which was very well fought games, you know. And so if you look at overall bowling to people like Viv Richards, Greg Chappell, Javed Miandad, then Zahir Abbas, Graham Gooch, even Ian Botham, because he was an outstanding cricketer, and especially against Spain and others. So there were a lot of high quality players: Alan Border, Kim Hughes, Doug Walters. You could go on talking about good names. And a lot of them, even unheard of people, were very good players. They knew how to negotiate the bowling. They didn't always want to master you. They frustrated you by being there, and you could see that they are getting close to 100. So that was a different kind of era for, not dominating, but still gathering their own scores to justify their inclusion. One of some of the best players that I've bowled to are the people who I mentioned, and besides, of course, our own cricketers in India. People like Sunil Gavaskar, Vishwanath, Mohinder Amarnath, Dilip Vengsarkar. You can mention so many names that people you played with. Their great ability to play, and it transformed into a great team because of all of them.
Very well said. Very, very magical names and brings out the memories, goose pimples at times. But I must ask you this question. Why is it that the current, I mean, we are fast forwarding a little bit, the current crop of batsmen cannot really play spin as well, and they cannot even occupy the crease for as much time as well. And also on the flip side, we don't even have a number of great spinners on the international scene. Maybe we have two or three or four maybe spinners who are really, really good. Not so many as you had at that time. So batsmen and spinners.
I think the game has changed in its perspective. You'll find that the advent of the shorter format, people's technique have changed so much, both the bowler and batsman. And cricket is an unnatural game. It requires a deep muscle memory. Repetitive. Cricket requires repetitive action of not natural cycle. Bowling is an unnatural action. Throwing is a normal action. Similarly, batting, the way you have to bend your feet or leg and the way you have to move it sideways and all these things are quite unnatural. So whatever you repeat and how often you do that becomes your memory. And this is what has happened with most of the modern day great batsmen or modern day successful bowlers. Not so much of fast bowling. Fast bowling is excellent, but spin bowlers and the batsmen, and this is the world over. I'm not only looking at India. Uh, so who am I to complain about that? But this is my analysis. I feel that when the ball swings a little bit more than they are used to, or the ball spins a lot more than they expect to, most of them are all at sea, really.
Yeah,
And
I can.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
that's also because it's become a percentage game. Some people have even discussed, some of the current modern cricketers, when I spoke to them, when they speak to me, you can't go and advise people. If people come looking to talk to you, they're welcome. And you find that they're quite happy with the averages they have got or the performance they have done. So the hunger has to be for excellence, not so much for performance. So when your hunger is related more to performance, then you are satiated or satisfied at a certain level. When your hunger is for excellence, then it grows a little more, and that's probably the little bit of difference, I would say.
It's a good time to bring in what we were discussing offline. I want you to kindly comment on that. The transition that players basically make from junior cricket to senior cricket. If their ambition is just to play T20, then they may not grow as much as you said. So why don't you continue on this theory of T20, limited overs, and let's say days cricket as they call it, or test cricket, which is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
What should a
Yeah.
player look for? Yeah.
Okay. So it becomes like this. Test cricket is a broader canvas. The ODI is a much smaller canvas. And the T20 is almost a small square. Now, if you decide I want to make a mark in the smaller square of T20, it's not that difficult. Even good club cricketers are very successful in T20. And sometimes I am surprised to see high quality test players are considered to be too slow and they don't get played either in ODI or T20. At least they should play in ODI because you see, ODI is still a 100 over game, which is a proper game. See,
You can
100
score
overs.
100 more
Yeah,
easily. And
yeah. So I'll give you an example. I would never drop a guy like Pujara from ODI. I would ask him to occupy one end, and make sure he gets 100 in 40, 45 hours. And I think he is capable. And from the other end, people
Rahane
to do
also
whatever.
drop. Rahane also.
Yeah, of course. I'm just giving you
Both of them.
examples.
Yeah, yeah.
So the ability of top quality cricketers to change from test cricket to the demands of ODI and T20 is only a mental adjustment. But to judge yourself as a good T20 cricketer, where your ceiling is quite low, and to rise up to ODI and test cricket is very difficult. So this is why I feel that the continuing muscle memory, many children, when they grow up and they dream to be cricketer, they want to be a part of IPL. They want to play T20 because there is a razzmatazz. There is the TV audience and all the things. Good, nothing wrong with that. What it does, though, is to a young bowler or a young batsman, he gets stamped as a T20 cricketer, and his technique gets so limited that he is almost like a pygmy, pygmatizing himself. And to grow out of that is very difficult. So that is one of the things. Do you know what, Vivek, I'm trying to say is?
I understand.
And yeah, and I feel that it has come to stay. Let us accept that T20 is an extremely important addition to the game, and it's very entertaining. I don't consider it to be serious cricket, but it is good enough cricket to understand the ability of somebody.
I totally agree with you. In fact, I've written somewhere about youngsters playing, under 20, on 2020 cricket and playing cross-back shots, etc. But I want to ask you about the fact that you were a great spinner is no doubt. The batting and the fielding, these days, everybody has to score runs as well as field. And this is not to take away anything from you, but your batting average, your fielding abilities, could have been better in this era had you been a player now.
Look, I think this is generalizing now. What I'm going to explain is in today's cricket, I see that the fielding has improved so well and so tremendously compared to what it used to be. Overall, I'm not talking about one or two athletes. A bowler is expected to bat at the end. In my case, because you mentioned that, so I want to explain to you. Funnily, anybody who is listening to this, at least if you grew up in Calcutta, they might know that actually my college captain elected me in the team as a batsman. He didn't realize that I was a bowler because he asked me to bat and you couldn't ask question. So it's not that. The funny thing is, that whenever the chips were down 3 times for India and quite a few
Yeah,
times in my county games, I did stick my neck out and I helped our team to go through that difficult period because that's application. But to look at the averages and to decide whether you were a useful batsman or not would be a mistake. Whether you're scoring 20 not out when it is not necessary improves your average, and a tally of your runs in Test cricket is immaterial, really. It's neither here nor there. About fielding, I can say that our fielding drills were different. I was advised very young, at age of 20, 21, by an English physiotherapist, that if you want to stay on in the game, don't throw every ball from the boundary line,
oh,
bowl the throw. Then I later on saw Derek Underwood do the same thing, Bob Willis do the same thing, John
maybe
Snow
you.
did the same thing. I did the same thing because I was not going to last in the game for being able to throw flat from the boundary line, which I could do till 1969.
Right.
Then I was told, advised by a very smart gentleman who was he became an England physiotherapist later on. And he suggested to me that, son, if you want to stay in the game, you save that arm, which has to take a lot of wickets and
Yeah.
bowl overs and overs. In those days, you had to turn in all the time. And so, so that was different era, different thing. Today, if you had played, you didn't have to worry about anything. You're paid very well. You don't have to worry about things. There is all the scientific approach to the game. That's fine. But my point is, I would not replace skill with any fitness. So I would still pick up a player who may be physically, athletically less fit than somebody who can run like a hare and dive like a hound, but cannot produce a match winning spell of bowling or batting. To me, he is not good in my team. So the
Right.
skill can never be replaced by anything. But
I
having said
totally
that,
agree. No, I
yeah, having
totally
said
agree.
that, today's time, all these things have advanced so much, and it's better for the game. Had we got the same facilities, we could have also improved in certain areas without a doubt.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you one little question related to cricket, and then we're going to switch to something else. Was it difficult playing with spectacles? You always had specs to while playing. Very few players wear specs now.
Well, I had no choice. When I was almost 7 or 8, I don't remember, but I got glasses, and so it's a part of you. You just don't think you wear glasses. You just
Right.
get on with the thing.
Get on.
It did affect me in my first test match, though, that I was playing in 100% humidity, and in September in Chennai, it was 38 centigrade and boiling. And the sweat kept on making my glass sweat and humid. So I had to wear a headband or my handkerchief to make sure my glasses didn't fall when I was bowling. But otherwise, I had no problem. I think
Wonderful.
you got
Wonderful.
used
I've
to it.
got people on the show, Mr. Doshi, who are cricket aficionados. There's Mr. Sushil Kapoor, who says that Keith Goodwin came to Patiala in 1972, where he coached youngsters in Baradari grounds, and Arjun Naidu, etc. were one of some of them. I've got Sanjay Dhul, who says that he's played with Nayan Doshi, your son, and he was playing for Saurashtra at that time. I've got
Yes.
Chitranjan Agarwal, who's a co-founder of Playwright with me, and he's commenting that we were out umpired in 1982-83. I'm not asking you to comment on that.
No.
I've got a coach called Nagesh Gupta who says that everybody bowls darts nowadays. Nobody's prepared to flight the ball and play. So he's a very good cricket coach as well. And he's been training his youngsters to flight the ball a little more. So, but I want to ask you a little about Nayan and his career and how is he doing now?
Yeah. Well, Nan is at the moment he is involved in developing a business of his in London. He was off the game for the last 5 years, but he decided he's missing it too much and he wants to play again. So I wish him very well, and he is going to play. When he played in England, he played in county cricket and he excelled. And he did very well. And then he came to India also and he played cricket for Saurashtra. And again, uh, he has played at the highest level, below the first class level, and he has been successful. And in a way, because he spent time between India and England, and he also had to focus on a business, he couldn't give his full time. That is the thing. But
Yeah,
I'm glad he enjoyed
we've
the
heard
game.
of it. He's enjoyed the game, I'm sure, and having an illustrious father in cricket had it always has pluses and minuses. But I'm sure he enjoyed the game. But tell me about yourself. How do you keep busy now? You have a business with Lami, and you're also vegan. Tell me these two things.
First of all, vegan is a lifestyle. So let's say that I'm a great believer in non-violence, being a Jain, and I'm a vegan since last 13 years. I was always been a vegetarian all the life, but vegan is a step upward because I believe in vanaspati ahar. That means what grows. My food is not born; it grows. So what it means is that I would take nothing from the animal, and it is not meant for me. So that is a philosophy I have. It's better for us, our own well-being, as well as for the animals, and as well as for the ecology. As now the whole world is talking about veganism, and this is great. That's one. About my business, I have to keep busy. I have to make a living, and my company represents Lamy, which is a great German writing instrument. It makes the finest fountain pens in the world. And the romance of writing with a fountain pen is quite unimaginable. And so I love that. And I'm grateful that I've got something to do with that.
Mr. Doshi, I'm going to take up that offer, and I'm actually tempted to write you a letter longhand after today and send it to you by post. I haven't done that for a while, but you are going to be a. I don't have a Lamy pen, but I'm going to send you with my best pen, and you please reply to me on fountain with a fountain pen.
I'll do that. Because there is a direct link between handwriting and brain. So when you do, and I'm talking about writing with a fountain pen, because if you take a thing, when you write with a fountain pen, you will not scribble. You will be careful what you write. That means your thoughts, your brain, and your hand connect, and you will always write something because you can't sketch it out. So you'll have to think before you write. With a ball pen or a biro, you'll write, you can scribble and cut it off, not with a fountain pen. So it creates a certain respect and different thought process.
So when you wrote your book in 1991 or whenever, did you write it by pen, fountain pen, and
Yes,
then
I
got
wrote
it
it
typed?
with a fountain pen. I wrote a pile of pages with my fountain pen every day, and that is how it developed.
Very humbly, I must tell you, I have three books, but I've written them all on the computer. And I wish, there was a WhatsApp message which said that we kept perfecting our handwriting in school, but we don't use it anymore. So, what a waste of talent over there. I think we should get back to writing. But
Yeah,
one
yeah.
more before we go. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, no, sure. No, please carry on.
Okay, one more before we go. So, a young spinner or a young player, what should he look out for? What are a couple of tips for him to inspire youngsters through your experience?
You mentioned young spinner, correct?
Yes, young spinner.
A spinner must essentially spin the ball. If by any action he stops spinning the ball, then he becomes a slow bowler. He doesn't become a spinner. So essence is in spinning the ball, and every surface will not respond to spin. Some very smooth surfaces will require you to experiment a little more, and you learn this as you grow. There is no quick fix in this. On helpful surfaces, anybody can spin. You just have to pitch it there and the ball will deviate. That is more attribute to the pitch rather than to the spinner. But on general decent pitches, to bowl spin with control is a great art and it needs a lot of hard work, patience, and the ability to take punishment as well. Because you don't become a spinner without taking punishment. And even at your peak, you're going to be punished. And you better be accept that.
Right. In fact, I've just been told we have 5 more minutes, so I have two more questions for you. And
Sure.
one is about the current crop of Indian spinners. So Ashwin and Jadeja on the one hand, and Kuldeep and Chahal on the other hand. So just quick comments on them.
My personal view is on Ashwin. He has got a fabulous record on pitches in India where the ball turns. And I think he needs to decide if he's an off spinner or not. And if he's an off spinner, he must keep bowling his stock ball, which is 98, 99%. And about Jadeja, I would say that I consider him as the best of the bowlers today amongst us. And I would play him all the time. Kuldeep Yadav, of course, by the nature of bowling left arm Chinaman googly, requires a lot of control as well as big heart. And he's a young enough bowler. He will have to develop that taste for taking punishment. At the same time, he's got coaches and other people around. So I don't like to talk about technical things on an interview like this. But I think if his heart and the mind is in the right place, he will take the correct steps. If he bowls well, it will be great for India. Chal, on the other hand, also is similar. And I think I've seen him bowl very well at times. But how he will do in the proper format of the game, which is the longer format, I have never seen any of these people bowl in a first class game for bowling 30, 40 overs a spell. So it's very difficult to judge. But because they are playing at that level, they have a great opportunity to improve and do well for India. And I really wish them well.
Thank you. And one last question on women's cricket, although it's not directly related, but it is. What about women's cricketers and how can we expand the scope of women's cricket? And what should young aspirants in women's cricket look out for?
Well, it's as you rightly said that we were not used to seeing this earlier, but Indian girls are already playing extremely well. As we have seen, they have gone to the World Cup final. In fact, I went to see that match at Lords myself, and I was very
Yes.
proud that our team represented us at Lords in the final. They had a very, very good chance to win, and it's one of the sad things at that time we couldn't win. But sure, there will be opportunities. No, I think it should be encouraged because sport should not be only entitled for men or women. It's a different sport. When the girls played, they played more delicately and they played powerfully also, as you have seen that some of the girls we have in our team, women's cricket, they are very powerful strikers of the ball and they have got great athletic fitness. So I think it's a growing trend and I hope and really wish that many young ladies and girls take up it as a sport and see where they go. I'm all for it.
Thank you, Mr. Doshi. It's been a pleasure to have you on this show, and it's a Playwright Conversation series. We look forward to maybe having you in Chandigarh for the event when we have a large hall, full gathering, when the pandemic scare is over, and have you speak someday. But you have a lot of friends in this part of India, Chandigarh, Punjab, Haryana, Himachal, Delhi. And of course, there are people going to watch this conversation all over India and maybe abroad as well. So thank you for joining and a pleasure to have had.
Thank you very much, Vivek. Thank you for having me on your platform. It's been my pleasure to speak to you as well. And you pick my brain in various areas. For many people haven't done it for a while. So I thank you very much.
Thank you
And
very
I
much.
wish all the viewers the very best. And to everybody who has been watching it, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Doshi. Bye.